It's the oldest desert in the world. Shaped by a harsh climate few could endure. Yet it holds remarkable creatures that have had time to adapt, developing ingenious solutions to life in the merciless heat. This desert is a place of changing faces and hidden secrets, each more brilliant than the last. A timeless and mighty expanse. A land of extremes. The Namib Desert. It's the beginning of summer in the Namib Desert. This immense stretch of sand dunes and gravel plains runs all the way along the coast of Namibia in southwest Africa. It was formed more than 43 million years ago and is the oldest desert in the world. The name Namib comes from an indigenous language and means vast place. Indeed, this coastal desert stretches for more than 2,000 kilometers from the Orange River at the border in the south, all the way to Angola in the north, and extends in parts up to 200 kilometers inland. Across it, the baking sand seems inhospitable and devoid of life. How could anything live in a place that is almost totally without surface water? Yet hidden within these desolate dunes are surprising signs of life. The Namib is considered one of the most biologically rich deserts on the planet. The secret to survival for much of the Namib's life lies to the west, where the desert is bordered by a most unlikely neighbor, the Atlantic Ocean. It batters the coastline of Namibia with icy, nutrient-rich water that is in sharp contrast to the baking sand of the desert. The cold ocean supports life in the scorching Namib in the most unexpected way. To see how, one needs look no further than this remarkable little beetle. It's a tenebrionid beetle, and it's on a mission. The little beetle needs to climb to the top of this massive dune. For it's there that the beetle will find the unlikely lifeline that sustains it and the desert. Fog. In the cool morning, moisture-laden air blows off the ocean onto the land, where it's trapped by warm air above. forcing it to condense into a low layer of fog. In a rainless desert, this fog has become the much-needed nourishment for life. As the fog rolls in, the beetle stands at the top of the dune and harvests the moisture with tiny bumps on its exoskeleton. These catch the water and allow for condensation. Micro-sized grooves on its body have a combination of wax-coated and non-wax-coated areas, which direct the water toward the beetle's mouth. This incredible practice has earned the insect the name fog-basking beetle. It's such an efficient method of gathering moisture that in this manner the beetle can drink enough to increase its body water content by more than a third. That's the equivalent of a 70-kilogram person drinking 24 liters in one go. Fog may be a lifeline for the animals of this desert, but it can prove disastrous to man. Skeletons of shipwrecks lie half submerged in the sand. Relics of voyages wrecked by savage seas and thick fog. It might seem strange to see a shipwreck in the middle of the desert, but it hasn't moved an inch since it ran aground. It's the desert that has slowly engulfed it, with over a kilometer of new desert being formed in the last 100 years. This is a consequence of sediment being deposited by the Orange River into the ocean, where it's churned about in the swell and blown back onto land by the prevailing onshore winds. The result is a constantly replenished army of dune giants that slowly march ever north. The Atlantic brings more than dunes and fog to the Namib. It also attracts a massive population of unlikely desert lodgers. This beach is packed with thousands of Cape fur seals. They gather here to breed and feast on the plentiful fish in the coastal waters. The ocean here is rich in life because of the cold Benguela current, which flows up the coast, dragging an upwelling of nutrient-rich water from the depths. This water is laden with plankton, which fuels abundant fish life. This, in turn, provides easy pickings for the seals. Away from the surf, the beach is isolated by the dunes to the interior, making it relatively safe from the outside world, and thus excellent seal country. The larger bull seals arrived earlier in the season to stake out and protect the best territories, which the females choose to give birth in. This subspecies of Cape fur seals lives only along the coasts of South Africa and Namibia. Because they breed in huge colonies, suitable sites like this beach are hard to come by. Right now, the pups are only a few weeks old, constantly hungry and very vulnerable. Mothers and pups stay together in the first weeks, forming a powerful bond, which will later allow them to find each other among the thronging masses. But nursing the growing pups quickly depletes the female's energy reserves, and inevitably they must head out to fish or risk being too weak to support the pups or themselves. For the mothers, there is no choice. They must leave their young ones unattended. Though the beach is relatively safe, danger still lurks. The mothers will be gone for up to a week in order to catch enough fish to sustain their hungry pups. The babies can do little but watch their mothers leave. Luckily, the colony has a special place for unattended youngsters. The pups stay in groups called rookeries, where being together maximizes their chances of survival. Between the crashing waves and rocks, they are reasonably safe. Here they play and build their strength, learning important lessons about their environment. The little ones are unaware of the perils that they'll come to face. For now, at least, they can rely on their parents for food, unlike other desert inhabitants further inland, who must work harder to find a meal in the vast baking expanse. The secret to surviving in this apparent wasteland is evolving highly specialized bodies and behaviors designed to cope with the exposed sandy terrain. The Namaqua chameleon seems like an unlikely creature to find in the desert. Yet it is well suited to live in the Namib. The slow, swaying gait of chameleons is thought to have evolved in forests to help disguise them as a leaf blowing in the wind. But it's an odd way to sneak around in the desert. Chameleons are known for changing colors, and the Namaqua chameleon has adapted this ability to help it survive here. In the early mornings when it's cool, the chameleon opts for a dark skin color to help it soak up the sun's rays. Once it's warmed up, the chameleon then changes to a lighter hue to reflect further unwanted heat. Now it can get down to business. Hunting. Those juicy beetles are here somewhere. The chameleon just needs to find them. For such a small animal, traversing the dunes is a marathon indeed. It's a long climb up and over the mountains of sand. This dry bush is promising hunting ground, and the chameleon uses its ability to change color to blend into the surroundings. Its independently swiveling eyes scan the environment for scampering beetles. But there's nothing here. There is another place to look. The mudflats at the base of a large dune. Here the chameleon spots a beetle. But finding them is only half the challenge. Finally, success. But this predator is in danger of becoming prey. There's another reptile out here that the chameleon must keep an eye out for. And it's not easy to spot. The Perengese adder. It's small at only 25 centimeters long, but well adapted to life in the desert. The adder has developed an impressive ability to move across the soft sand using an elegant sidewinding movement. This allows it to travel more effectively over the large dunes while looking for the best hunting grounds. Moving in this way also helps the snake minimize contact with the hot sand. It can slither surprisingly fast when going up and over the scalding dunes. Identifying the right spot for an ambush is an important part of its hunting strategy. Once it's found a suitable location, it buries itself in the sand, leaving just its eyes exposed. The Perengese adder is a true master of ambush. Patience is a virtue in this massive desert. It may wait all day. One prey species the snake is after has left misleading patterns scrawled in the sand. The trail looks like it belongs to a snake, but the Fitzsimmons burrowing skink is actually a lizard. Over millennia of evolution, the skink has lost its legs for a more effective mode of transport. It swims along, using snake-like locomotion to pass over the sandy substrate, while searching for a meal of small insects such as ants, termites, and beetles. Other tracks in the dunes reveal the presence of a more conventional lizard. The shovel-snouted lizard has long legs, which make it extremely fast across the sand. Because you never know where there's an adder lying in wait. As its name suggests, the lizard also has a nose shaped like a shovel. This comes in handy when it's time to disappear. With no plants or rocks to hide under, this vanishing act can mean the difference between life and death. Without such precise adaptations, it would be difficult to survive the Namib. In fact, over half of the desert-adapted animals in the Namib are found nowhere else on Earth. But not all of them have such unusual solutions to staying alive in the heat of the day. Some simply avoid the day altogether. The web-footed gecko is nocturnal. It chooses to sleep away the heat of the day under the sand before emerging to hunt insects by night. It has huge eyes that allow it to see well in the desert darkness. However, like many geckos, it lacks the ability to blink, which makes keeping sand out of its eyes difficult. Luckily, a long, sticky tongue works like a windshield wiper to clean the gecko's oversized eyeballs. Webbed feet let it run swiftly across loose, sandy soil. Helpful in a desert where the hunter can quickly become the hunted. The gecko's skin has a pinkish-brown hue, which helps camouflage it amongst the desert's colors, and thus it avoids the attention of other nocturnal predators. For there are some dangerous characters that stalk through the darkness. The thick-tailed Parabuthus scorpion is among the most venomous in southern Africa. It's a very aggressive predator, and one of the few scorpions that actively hunts for prey, rather than waiting in ambush. The Namib Desert is a place of many faces. Towards the interior, the sun rises to reveal a surreal world where even the trees are seemingly frozen in time. Towering above the white floor of a dry clay marsh is one of the tallest sand dunes in the world. Named Big Daddy, it arches 300 meters into the azure sky. Lying next to Big Daddy is an eerie place called Dead Flay. It's a clay pan that formed more than 1,000 years ago after heavy rainfall caused the Tsauchab River to flood. The deluge created shallow pools, which allowed camel thorn trees to grow. But 900 years later, the climate changed and drought hit the area. Sand dunes encroached on the pan, which blocked the river and starved the trees of water. The trees have remained in a state of suspended animation ever since. It's simply too hot and dry here for wood to rot. The contrasting colors and shapes of the landscape may be beautiful, but they belie the true nature of this merciless desert realm. Towards the interior of the Namib, the dunes cease and rocky, grass-covered plains emerge. It's an equally hostile environment, and even the most desert-adapted can find the conditions threatening. Gemsbok are desert experts. Yet these are in poor condition. They're hungry and dehydrated from a brutal summer without enough to eat or drink. As a species, they are some of the most accomplished desert specialists in Africa, but the Namib is testing their limits. Still, they're surviving out here, where many antelope species would perish. They do this by drawing on an effective arsenal of behavioral and physiological adaptations. Glossy, light beige coats reflect the sun's rays, while the nomadic antelope roam and feed on the hoof. They have the incredible ability to stop sweating when they become dehydrated, and so reduce evaporative water loss by up to 90%. They can also tolerate internal body temperatures of 45 degrees Celsius. Blood reaching the brain at this temperature would be fatal. But the Gemsbok have a secret to keeping a cool head. Behind the brain is a network of blood vessels called the carotid reed. Warm blood from the heart passes through this network and transfers heat to cool blood traveling from the nasal passages. This cools the blood entering the brain by almost 4 degrees Celsius. And the Gemsbok's desert adaptations don't stop there. Normally, they can survive for up to 2 weeks without drinking. They do this by feeding on the most moisture-laden vegetation available, like succulents and the juicy melons of the Nara plant. Right now, there are no such plants to be had, and they'll have to make do with tough, dry grasses. These won't keep the Gemsbok nourished for long, and so they need to keep moving in search of water. There is a place in the Namib where the grass's secrets are best revealed from the sky. These are fairy circles, circles of grass 2 to 15 meters across that have long been considered one of the great mysteries of the Namib Desert. Seen from above, the bizarrely symmetrical circles seem out of place in an already alien world. But what caused these patterns on a magnitude of this scale remains unknown. Over time, all manner of theories have been put forward, from electromagnetic waves to natural gases. Most scientists believe that they were in fact made by termites hundreds of years ago, which created the Sea of Circles by traveling only to a certain safe distance from their nests while foraging. Regardless of the explanation, the fairy circles remain a remarkable phenomenon in this multifaceted desert realm. other unexpected appearances in this mysterious desert. To catch a glimpse, one must travel north over the dune seas, across the endless gravel plains, and into the remote and rocky hinterlands. The world's largest land mammals live here, like ghosts in a forgotten world. These desert-adapted elephants are the last of their kind. Over time, they've learned to cope with life in this unforgiving desert. They are smaller than other African elephants due to the scarcity of food in the Namib. And while their savanna cousins need to drink every day, the Namib's desert elephants can go without water for up to 4 days. To find what little water there is here, they must endure long desert crossings. They have longer legs and wider feet to help them on these arduous treks. Ephemeral rivers in the north of the Namib provide water and fuel the growth of food for the desert giants in the otherwise barren wasteland. While it's incredibly difficult for large mammals to survive out here, even the local birds are struggling in the heat. These 3 Ruppel's korans are stricken by the midday temperatures. A fallen dead tree offers some sanctuary. But they're big birds, standing half a meter tall and weighing more than a kilogram. Only 2 manage to share the shade. The one left out in the sun must turn to another avian heat reduction strategy, called gular fluttering. By opening its mouth and rapidly fluttering its throat, the koran dissipates heat through evaporative cooling. In the trees above, a couple of greater kestrels keep cool by spreading their wings and allowing the breeze to cool the blood flowing through the thin skin underneath. Birds have the ability to cover much larger distances than other desert residents, and it's often their cries that draw others to water. This flock of sand grouse has found a small waterhole, a rare oasis in the blistering desert. The Gemsbok know that in the Namib, the sand grouse call often means water. Following the bird's calls, the Gemsbok find relief. For the parched herd, the watering hole has come just in time. A long, deep drink quickly rehydrates them. And soon the herd's males turn their attention to other important affairs. Both male and female gemsbok have long, sharp horns, which they use to intimidate any would-be predators like lions. But the male's horns are thicker, which they wield to fight for mating rights. Two big bulls, fresh from a drink, clash horns. Even the slightest mistake could spell disaster for the contestants. It doesn't take much imagination to see why the horns can be lethal. There's a male in the herd with an unfortunate horn deformity. His drooped horn doesn't just affect his appearance. He's less likely to win any fights and establish a territory of his own. The horn asymmetry may be a result of poor nutrition, extreme environmental conditions, or an early injury. But while he's less handsome than the rest, he appears quite healthy. Back at the coast, the young seal pups are still waiting for their mothers to return. And they're starting to get hungry. The mothers have been at sea for several days, and it's vital that the pups feed soon. This youngster's mum is still out to sea. But he's not starving. He's dying of a seizure. It was likely caused when his mum ingested fish that were exposed to harmful algal blooms, known locally as red tide. Infant death due to illness or predation is a tragic reality of life in the seal colony. Of the thousands of seals born here, 20% won't make it past a month old. But the death of the seal pups supports others on the desert's shoreline. Kelp gulls are usually first on the scene. What may seem gruesome to us is simply the circle of life. It's an honest and unending recycling of nutrient flow that allows the complex and diverse ecosystem to function. The gull's glut won't last long. The black-backed jackal is a consummate scavenger, always on call to do nature's carrion cleanup duties. This jackal has hit the jackpot. It's a prize worth fighting for. But jackals are wily creatures. While he's distracted by the first unwanted guest, a second slinks in. He isn't in the mood to share. It's clear he wants everyone to know who's boss around here. Once the hierarchy is established, he relaxes his grip on the precious meat. These intelligent creatures know that sharing means survival out here. Because you never know when you'll need a favor. The jackals are unaware that they're being watched by one of the most elusive beasts in the Namib. A brown hyena. This rare and intriguing creature is found only in Southwest Africa. A mysterious and solitary scavenger, it is often referred to as the beach wolf. Here in the Namib, populations are some of the healthiest in sub-Saharan Africa. The hyena is 5 times bigger than the jackals, and they know not to challenge him. And he, in turn, tolerates them. A grudging acceptance is an unspoken code of carrion eaters, and the hyena is a true scavenger. While it feeds mainly on seal pups along the coast of the Namib, it also eats many other marine organisms washed up on shore. Both the jackals and the hyena would usually be more active at night to avoid the heat, but here on the coast where it's cooler, they can forage during the day. Although he arrived late for the meal, the hyena takes what's left. He's able to cut through the thick skin and crush the bones with his powerful jaws. It's all part of a cycle where the death of one supports the life of many in this land of extremes. The rest of the seal colony is thriving. The mothers have returned successful from their fishing trips, able to produce rich milk to support their growing young, which frolic on the beaches. These young seals are healthy and strong. Thanks to the tireless efforts of their mothers, they will grow into adults and may return to this beach to reap the brief plenty of the South Atlantic's summer season. Those that live here understand that times of abundance must be taken advantage of in this land of feast and famine. In this ancient desert, life flourishes where it's least expected. Mammals, birds, and reptiles have found a home here. Yet these creatures could never live in the brutal heat without specific desert adaptations. With time on their side, they have adapted to life in this realm of harsh beauty, unlike any other seen in southern Africa. It's a place where the sands of time have created what is truly a land of extremes.